Hey, what's happening? And hey, there is right now a lot of these things, we were talking about. One of the major things that is happening in the UK rather is that there is this digital vaccine certificates, right? There's these passports and digital certificates and digital passports that the government wants to implement. Well, taking a look at Scotland, a digital system to allow people in Scotland to prove their COVID vaccination status is being worked on, and this is all being said and being done by the public health officials. So yeah, the scheme essentially is going to allow Scotland, and they're going to be ready to join an international vaccine program. And in case you're wondering who this is, who I am, well, my name is Nick, and I'm giving you guys company on a Real Talk. And so, hey, if you guys have any wonders, any thoughts on these matters, hey, you can always hit me up on those numbers. It's 07852 473 473. But before we dive into that, we're going to show you a little sneak peek of what we are and what we're in store, what we have in store rather, right here on Relax Radio. So here is a little bit of us. That's right. If you guys want to check us out, we're always on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Make sure also to download us on the app stores or the Google Play Store to carry us all day, every day. And with that being said, that we're going to dive back into the topic at hand. And like I said, Scotland is, trying to implement this new COVID vaccination status. It's an app, essentially a digital system that will allow people to figure out if people are having had the COVID vaccine or had the COVID-19 infection previously. So this is the kind of that they want to do. They want to implement essentially the digital certification, which is the vaccine passports. So the scheme will allow and will mean that Scotland will be ready to join this international vaccine program. And the National Clinic Director, Professor Jason Litch, said that the paper proof, similar to that given to people in England, was not a satisfactory solution. And he said that compiling information was important, and we are not yet very near to it. So yeah, Professor Litch confirmed that all four UK countries were discussing, the joint digital system. And there was actually a lot of, backlash coming out from all of this. And a lot of people weren't really quite happy because they were afraid that this could become something like an ID card. And, when the government can force you to take these vaccines, and where, officials or places, your workplace, your employers might even ask you these kind of things, these kind of, whether you had the vaccine or not. And that is going to be that's going to be the issue, where when you want to join a job, it's not going to be easy because of this, and it's going to be a liability in any case. And a lot of people are afraid they're going to be losing that system of freedom. And that is, that's just one of the concerns that is happening. And a couple of the negative feedback when it comes to this digital certification. Well, the medical professional outlined plans for, the portal system during a COVID technical briefing. And they said, that the NHS was looking at data linkages between delivery of blue envelope appointment letters and vaccine uptakes. So it would then provide a digital record of whether people have been vaccinated, have been recently tested negative, or have natural immunity against being ill with the COVID virus. So yeah, the professor also explained that we need to make that accessible. The information exists. It's just a question of the form it should take. So, it comes as these EU officials are considering whether countries with a strong jabs rollout could be exempt from its blanket ban on entry. So yeah, it's been suggested that UK tourists with vaccine certifications could be allowed entry as early as June, because like I said, right now, when it comes to Europe, the country, UK is one of the places, is the place with the most vaccines, with the most number of individuals vaccinated. So it's just, it just kind of makes sense why, why Europe is trying to let our citizens travel easy. It's more easier for them to travel abroad than compares to, to the other countries. Well, Professor Jason Litch also said, that for now, Scotland's position on passports and travel remains the same. So yeah, the government had previously confirmed it was looking at how to allow people to more easily show their COVID status as a temporary measure. Yeah, that's right. Like I said, there's a lot of backlash when it came down to this certification. A lot of people were not quite happy with it. People were not. There's a lot of criticism going on with this, and even when it came to a lot of MPs as well, did not like the whole idea of getting these, certifications. And yeah, Jason Litch, Professor Jason Litch, essentially said that the clinical advice is that the travel remains a significant risk, and you could argue our most significant risk with exporting and importing cases. So Scotland is developing a four-country level conservations around a digital solution and what that might look like. So yeah, so Scotland's first minister Nicola Sturgeon had previously said we shouldn't close our minds to the ideas of a vaccine certification. And speaking at a COVID briefing on the 6th of April, Miss Sturgeon said, "We all want to get back to normal. So anything that can play a part in getting us back to normal is something we should try and think about very carefully, but we should not, over gloss over the practical and the ethical issues as well. We shouldn't just forget about, oh, this is okay. This is something we need right now. Our country needs this. We're supposed to do this. And then we force everyone to do that. We got to remember that there are going to be ethical issues, rising from this. And there's going to be a lot of these concerns when it comes to these digital certifications. And yeah, well, one of the things is like I said, when it came to this certification, a lot of people were not happy because when places like, let's say, the pub or a restaurant asks you this, every single restaurant you go to, they ask you whether you have a passport or not. It's going to be a hassle when it comes to when you come to local travel, when you travel sometimes in your own backyard, in your own place, the place that you're familiar with, they're going to have to ask you, hey, do you have this passport? And it's going to be a hassle. But when it comes to traveling abroad, I kind of understand the whole situation. I mean, when you travel abroad, you need to show the necessary certification, the necessary documents, because, you're traveling to another foreign country and they have different policies, different rules, different set of rules that you're supposed to follow and abide with. That is totally understandable. But when it comes to the UK, when it comes to our country, where it comes to our local people, the people who live in the street for maybe 20 plus years, 10 plus years. Hey, when they want to go to a pub, they want to go to a restaurant, they want to go meet their friends or wherever in a theme park or something, they're going to be asked for these certifications and they're not going to be happy about it. I mean, you can argue with me. You can tell me, this is not the case. I mean, hey, you can hit me up. The numbers. You can always tell me. It's on 07852-473-473. You can always hit me up with those comments and let me know. But I'm going to tell you right now, though, it's going to be a hassle. It's going to be very inconvenient when it comes down to this. And not a lot of people are quite happy with it. Even if they say it is a temporary measure, I mean, it's not going to be a guaranteed temporary measure. This is how it always begins. It starts off as the government telling us, hey, it's going to be temporary. We're going to get a little bit more power, but hey, it's okay. It's just going to be a temporary measure. But then in the end of the day, boom. This is what happens. It becomes a permanent thing and it becomes something like a work ID. And that's going to be a big issue. And a lot of people are expressing their concerns on this. So like I said, although Nicola Sturgeon says that we shouldn't close our minds, at the same time, we have to, look over the practical and the ethical issues as well. So, there's European officials have announced plans, for the EU-wide green digital certificate. So this would allow anyone vaccinated against COVID or who has had tested negative or recently recovered from the virus to travel within the region. So officials hope the certificate will be in place before the summer tourist season, and individual countries have also announced similar plans, including Cyprus. And they say Britons who've had 2 jabs can visit from the 1st of May without needing a negative test or to be quarantined. And Greece will admit COVID negative Israeli tourists using its digital green vaccine certificates are allowed to enter their country. Denmark and Sweden are also developing these vaccine passports. It just goes to show, a lot of these European countries right now are they are trying to adopt this because, at the same time, tourism is also very important because, a lot of these countries also depend on tourism. They depend on these tourists coming into the country. So I can see the reason why, especially when it comes to countries like Greece and when it comes to countries like Cyprus, they depend on tourism. Tourism is one of the main reasons why their country is surviving. And right now, they're trying to do all they can. And this is just one of the methods that they're doing. They're trying to adopt this whole vaccine certificate. I mean, as things go by, hopefully it does not become permanent. This just becomes another temporary thing. And once everyone gets vaccinated, I hope that, by the time by the time the roadmap hits, by the time July 21st hits, everyone gets vaccinated. And then they're not going to be asking us about these whole, vaccine certifications. Hopefully by then everything will be resolved. But with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break and, taking a look at your time right now. It is 5 o'clock on the dot. Good evening.